Okay, the September 10th, 2019 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Alcoffer. Mr. Ansello. Mr. Baroff. Ms. Boyce. Mr. Brew. President Carbone.
Here.
Mr. Delahanty. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. Draw. Mr. Felder. Mr. Flagler Mitchell is excused. Ms. Halstead. Mr. Hebert. Mr. Howland. Ms. Cayley. Ms. Lamar. Mr. Lightfoot. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Marinetti. Mr. Michike. Mr. Morelli. Mr. Rockow. Mr. Shepard. Ms. Taylor. Mr. Turp. Mr. Wilcox. Mr. Wilt. Mr. Zale.
Please stay seated. I'd like to introduce Reverend William Leone of the Church of St. Jerome, who was invited by Legislator Halstead to lead us in a moment of prayer. Thank you, Father.
Let us pray. Eternal God, Lord of heaven and earth, we offer this meeting to you and ask you to bless it with your wisdom and grace. We thank you for this opportunity to be together, to grow in our love and service of you and of each other. We ask you to enlighten our minds to know what is true and just, and strengthen our wills to carry out faithfully what we come to see as our duty. May all our thoughts, words, and actions be directed to making your name and your love better known among men and women for their sanctification and their happiness here and in eternity. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father. Just a little plaque, our appreciation. Thank you very much. Thank you, Father. Please stand as Legislator Taylor will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Your copy of the Journal of Day 8, August 13th, 2019 is available on your tablet. Without exception, the journal will stand approved as submitted. There is a hearing loop in place tonight to assist those who are hearing impaired. Anyone requiring assistance should inquire in the clerk's office.
If you have a cellular phone, pager, or other electronic device in your possession, I'd request that you make it inaudible for the duration of the meeting. Thank you.
Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are available on your tablet as well as online. There are several proclamations scheduled this evening. Mr. Clerk.
Will Steve Hausman please come forward? Also, President Dr. Joe Carbone and County Executive Cheryl Donalfo. Whereas Steve Hausman has impacted the lives of countless Monroe County residents throughout his career in the communications industry. He has used his time on radio and TV, involvement in multiple charities, and participation in numerous community organizations to have a positive influence on so many people's lives. He has supported the Ronald McDonald House and the New York State Special Olympics. He has also been the chairman of the Monroe County Sports Commission for nearly 20 years. And whereas, in his tenure as a broadcaster, Steve has worked in many roles, including radio and television, from weekend sports anchor at WHEC TV to radio personality for WHAM, WVOR, and WCMF, finishing his career as a co-host on the incredibly popular B Morning Coffee Club at WBEE. Steve has worked an incredible 51 years in the broadcasting business and deserves to be commended for his long-lasting dedication to his profession. And whereas, Steve has received many awards throughout his career for his outstanding work. He's a 3-time winner of the New York State Broadcasters Association Award for Morning Show Excellence in Sports Broadcasting. He has also won the Rochester Press Radio Club Award for the highest level of sportscasting excellence. Outside of these accolades, Steve has been a true friend to all of us as his great pride in this community is apparent in his work, raising the profile of Monroe County as a whole. And whereas, after more than 5 decades of service in broadcasting, Steve deserves our congratulations for an impressive career in broadcasting. He's been dedicated to his work while also giving back to the community. Monroe County is proud to have citizens like Steve. Now, therefore, we, Cheryl Donalfo, County Executive, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, on behalf of the residents of Monroe County, do hereby recognize and congratulate Steve Hausman on his well-deserved retirement from his 51-year career in the communications industry.
It's my job to speak. I just, Cheryl and Joe and members of the legislature, it has been an amazing 7 days, and my wife Julie is here. It's been an amazing 7 days since last Friday when I announced my retirement on the B Morning Coffee Club. The outpouring of emotion from staffers, people I've worked with for years, great listeners who've been with me for 51 years, 32 years here in Rochester, and 18 years at the B Morning Coffee Club has been just amazing. And I believe that I say I'm the luckiest guy in town, and I really am. And this honor tonight caps it for me. Thank you so much to everyone who's here. And I don't think you've heard the end of me, but luckily that's the end of me for tonight. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Will Emily Diaz, please, and representatives from FoodLink, please come forward? Also, President Dr. Joe Carbone, Majority Leader Brian Marinetti, and County Executive Cheryl Donalfo. Whereas September is Hunger Action Month. All year round, but especially this month, we seek to support FoodLink and their efforts to eradicate hunger throughout the greater Rochester area and raise awareness for the 50 million Americans who live in food-insecure households. And whereas in Monroe County, more than 92,000 people suffer from food insecurity. This plays a significant role in preventing children, adults, and seniors from realizing their full potential. And whereas, for over 40 years, FoodLink has served our families with the mission of ending hunger and leveraging the power of food to build a healthier and stronger community. Their programs mobilize networks of community partners, including the County of Monroe, to solve the root of hunger. And whereas Monroe County and its residents have benefited immeasurably from the efforts of FoodLink to eliminate food insecurity in the greater Rochester area. Since its inception, FoodLink has expanded outreach services to include food pantries, housing shelters, soup kitchens, and other feeding programs. The work done by FoodLink leaders, staff, and volunteers will continue to help improve the lives of citizens throughout our community, and we are so grateful for their service. Now, therefore, we, Cheryl Donalfo, Monroe County Executive, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, and Brian E. Marinetti, Majority Leader, do hereby proclaim this month of September 2019 to be Hunger Action Month in Monroe County.
Thank you to Cheryl and the Monroe County Legislature for this honor. FoodLink serves 10 counties, but right here in Monroe County, we have 92,000 people who are considered food insecure, 30,000 of which are children. So this September, we, in honor of Hunger Action Month, we're hoping to raise awareness about the hunger in our community. And we're asking and encouraging the public to engage in one of 4 ways, to either volunteer with us at FoodLink, to donate, educate, or advocate. And you can learn more about how to get involved at our website at foodlinkny.org.
Will Mary Pollock, Kit Vogel, and Mike and Mary Kinski please come forward? Also, President Dr. Joe Carbone, County Executive Cheryl Donalfo, and Minority Leader Cynthia Cayley. Whereas, with more than 30,000 new cases diagnosed every year, pulmonary fibrosis is a disease that over 100,000 people currently live with in the United States. Pulmonary fibrosis causes scarring in the lung tissue that results in a number of symptoms, creating challenges for individuals and their families. And whereas Monroe County is proud to be home of UR Medicine, a national leader in the diagnosis, treatment, and research of pulmonary fibrosis. After a thorough and selective evaluation process, UR Medicine just received distinction from the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation as a PFF Care Center, joining a network of other nationally recognized centers and bringing our region to the forefront of care for this disease as the only care center of its kind in upstate New York. And whereas, in order to educate and improve support for individuals and families living with pulmonary fibrosis, we are making September as Pulmonary Fibrosis Month. As a community, we can benefit patients by raising awareness, as early detection can lead to improved treatment outcomes and better quality of life for those diagnosed with this rare disease. And whereas Monroe County is tremendously grateful for the outstanding work UR Medicine has done to treat and eradicate pulmonary fibrosis. UR Medicine has once again gone above and beyond by implementing research to create innovative technology while providing world-class care to patients and their families as they face the challenges brought on by pulmonary fibrosis. Now, therefore, we, Cheryl Donalfo, Monroe County Executive, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, and Cynthia W. Cayley, Minority Leader, on behalf of the residents of Monroe County, do hereby proclaim September 2019 to be Pulmonary Fibrosis Awareness Month.
Thank you. This is the second year that Monroe County has recognized pulmonary fibrosis and dedicated September as Pulmonary Fibrosis Month. Last year we had both the Lincoln Tower and the Memorial Library lit up in blue in recognition of Pulmonary Fibrosis Month, and we're hoping that we'll see other buildings and hopefully Cheryl the Bridge lit up in blue this year. There are more people die each year from pulmonary fibrosis than die from breast cancer. That hopefully shocks you because it's a terrible disease that has no cure. Everyone up here with me was touched by the disease, either by losing someone or having a lung transplant or caring for someone with pulmonary fibrosis. Please, if you find it in your heart to learn more about the disease and find ways to advocate for it, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
We will now recess for the purpose of holding a public hearing. I now declare open the public hearing entitled Enacting a Local Law entitled Regulation of Grease Trap Covers in Monroe County.
There are no speakers registered for this hearing.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I will now reconvene the September 10th, 2019 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature. There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We will now hold the public forum. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Mr. Clerk.
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the podium. I will call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature, and kindly conclude your remarks when the timer sounds and exit through the rear of the chambers. Thank you for your cooperation. Our first 3 speakers will be Julie Morley, Richard Cherkus, and Richard Failing.
We first talked about early intervention for our oldest son, Henry, when he was about a year old with his pediatrician. He could walk and run by the time he was 12 months old, but couldn't crawl, climb, or stand on his own. If he fell down walking or running, he was unable to get himself back up. After just a few months of PT, Henry was able to stand on his own, crawl, climb, and do stairs. The therapist also gave us activities to do with Henry on our own. In fact, all the therapists we saw would give us activities to do with Henry. That greatly assisted his development. The next thing was Henry's delayed speech. He would express his wishes and needs with grunts, as he had only had a couple simple words in his command. This caused him great frustration. After just a few months of speech, Henry was able to go from a few words to a tremendous vocabulary which delighted him. He was able to make friends and talk about things easily. Another issue was fine motor delays. After just a few months of occupational therapy, Henry was able to do almost all the fine motor things that toddlers could do. I know that we would be living very different lives without early intervention. It literally changed Henry's life and ours. If he hadn't received these services early on, I know the delays and challenges he had would have been that more challenging to overcome. With each new hurdle that he overcame, he went from a very anxious child to a relaxed, happy child who is eager to participate and make friends. We now have a son who can ride a bike without training wheels, do monkey bars, tie his shoe, buckle and unbuckle his seatbelt, and is a friend magnet. Henry, with his previous fine motor delays, is described by his Eastman School drum teacher as a natural. He thrives in school with the many social dynamics, has a vast vocabulary, is a keen reader, and can function with gross motor and fine motor skills like a champ. Early intervention is critical. It is a life changer. Either you pay for it early in a child's life or pay much more later on. Thank you.
County Executive and honorable members of the Legislature, good evening. I hope you remember my name is Dr. Richard Cherkis, and I'm a retired obstetrician gynecologist. Kudos to Putnam County Legislature for passing a resolution to repeal the Reproductive Health Act. I have some major medical concerns regarding the Reproductive Health Act. It states that an abortion is a safe surgical procedure and therefore can be performed by mid-level providers or non-physicians. Let me share a personal experience of mine. I was on call on a Saturday in the hospital. There was an obstetrician who performed abortions almost every Saturday morning. I was stat paged to the operating room. When I arrived, they informed me there was a teenage patient undergoing a DNS procedure. That stands for dilation and suction. One uses a 1-inch diameter plastic tube to suck out the pregnancy from the uterus. When I went into the operating room, the patient was in stirrups and bleeding. Her obstetrician gynecologist was in a state of shock. He asked me to look at the suction tube. When I looked at the suction tube, it contained approximately a 1-foot section of the patient's small intestine. During the procedure, the suction tube perforated the uterus and sucked up and tore off part of her intestine. She ended up with a major abdominal incision, loss of part of her small bowel, a reconnection of the small bowel, and a repair of the punctured uterus. Thank God we were in the operating room and not in an off-site facility. Every surgical procedure has risks. The risks of an abortion are infection, bleeding, hemorrhage, perforation and the problems that can cause, and a possible need for hysterectomy. And I can assure you, mid-level providers don't have the background or training to deal with those complications. This raises many questions. Should a mid-level provider performing abortions have a supervising physician? Should that supervising physician be an obstetrician gynecologist? Should that supervising physician be on site in case there's an emergency that needs intervention? Which procedures should be performed in the operating room? Which abortion procedures should not be permitted for a mid-level provider to perform. And as gestational age increases, the risk of an abortion increases. At what gestational age should a mid-level provider not be allowed to perform an abortion? A lot of questions and very few answers with the Reproductive Health Act. Because of that and other issues I'd be glad to come back next month and talk to you about, I urge you to join the lead with Putnam County, put forth a resolution, and repeal the Reproductive Health Act. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Richard Failing. I've lived in Monroe County all my life. I'm a college graduate in engineering science. I am an Army vet, father of 4. I'm a born-again Christian. I stand here today with my fellow Americans in defiance against the expansion of abortion in New York. It is indisputable that the very fabric of our nation is built upon the law of God. In the 1700s, a man named William Blackstone detailed God's law, both natural and revealed law, based on the Bible. His writings were our founders' primary legal source for establishing our republic. The abortion expansion law of 2019 opens the door to late-term abortion and cuts the conscience of all decent Americans. Governor Cuomo's declared vision for New York is to be the progressive leader of the United States. The Heritage Foundation describes progressivism as that platform which rejects the founders' principles that life and liberty come from our Creator, as established in the Declaration of Independence. Progressives have replaced the law of God as a standard from which all law is based with secular reasoning. Consequently, all manner of corrupt laws thrust upon us. History proves that perverse laws corrupt a society, not the other way around. Laws must have a strong moral fiber if they are to have a good effect on a population. The most vulnerable to perverse law is our youth. They are being further persuaded that it is okay to kill the unborn. That's shocking that we haven't thought that through. This new law opens the door to a deeper murderous mindset in our population, and it is utterly repulsive. And yet the governor and the legislature celebrate it. We are here to urge the Monroe County Legislature to take a stand against the expansion of abortion in New York and join many other communities in the United States, creating at the very least a heartbeat law in Monroe County. An outright abortion ban would be better. We also urge you to form a coalition with other counties in New York to stand against the same. It is our duty to resist ungodly and unconstitutional law, which is no law at all. The county executive and majority leader, I present a book to each of you explaining the doctrine of the lesser magistrates, authored by Matthew Truella, founder of the Missionaries to the Preborn, detailing the proper resistance to tyranny and a repudiation of unlimited obedience to civil government. Thank you.
Our next 3 speakers are Paul Frisella, Gail Doran, and Randy Semino.
I am Paul Frisella. The service at Monroe County continues to be poor. At the Labor Day parade the other week in Rochester, a man from the county executives group came up to me and acted odd, claiming to be from my old church to get my vote. I had to tell him to move on about 5 times before he moved. I left some messages for a Monroe County legislator recently, and he has failed to get back to me. Late last week, the Monroe County Clerk's Office refused to assist me when I asked for a phone number of a company, and a library told me to call the clerk's office. I encourage all here to vote appropriately in the next election in the light of all of this.
I'm Randy Cimino, President of Gage Recovery. I'm here today to talk about our Under 100 campaign for our company. It's Under 100. We're trying to get it still from September to September. We would like to have under 100 deaths from opiate overdoses. Gage Recovery's we opened a new facility at 2116 East Henrietta Road, and we put together a facility that does what's a one-stop deal. We see the doctor, we have an addiction doctor, we have a therapist, and we have counselors that will do placement. So it's a one-stop shop. I just got the numbers today from this month with 78 overdoses and 7 deaths. These numbers appear to be incorrect because I know of at least 2 that are not on this list. I know this is an estimated list. It's not exact. At the end of the year will be the list. This is unacceptable. It's down. The numbers are down, it appears, but it's still way too many deaths for a month. We had 17 in July. I have talked with the county executive and Dr. Mendoza briefly, and they agreed to meet with me and listen and talk with me. I'm looking forward to that. While I'm here, I'd like to thank a few people, Mr. Morelli, Mr. Alkoff, and Mr. Mitchkay, for your guys' support. You guys have been really great in trying to reach out and help us as much as you can. We're not going to stop until we get as much help as we can from everybody. We're not going to keep on going. We're going to try to bring the emergency rooms together with our health care and mental health people. This is it's too far out of control. We're losing too many people. We need all the help we can get. So I'm here to reach out to anyone that will help us. Please contact Gage Recovery, contact myself. All the police and first responders are on board helping us. I'm hoping very much that our health director and our county executive will jump in with us and help us out. Thanks a lot.
Our next 3 speakers are Celia Darling, Kristen Housel, and Rob Levine.
Good evening, Legislature. My name is Celia Darling, and I am a senior at Webster Thomas High School and here with Rochester Youth Climate Leaders. According to NASA, human activity has caused the average global temperature to rise over 1 degree Celsius since 1880. They predict Earth will rise 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2040. This will cause more extreme heat waves, droughts, forest fires, and floods, therefore destroying homes and crops, displacing families, and creating billions of dollars worth of damage. The Earth warming 2 degrees Celsius would affect 420 million more people than at 1.5 degrees Celsius through food shortages and heat stress, while the rise in sea level would cause 10 million more people to be affected through flooding than at 1.5 degrees. It is clear that the effects get worse and worse with higher temperatures, but it doesn't have to be like this. We can stop this starting here in Monroe County through carbon neutrality. A crucial first step in this solution is the creation of a Climate Action Plan Advisory Board to assist the county on research and implementation of green policy. This would provide the expertise to advise policy that benefits the county best economically and environmentally. As a resident of Webster, I am aware that green policy, like the creation of a Climate Action Plan Advisory Board, is supported on both sides of the aisle as we realize a warmer planet hurts everyone, no matter what party allegiance. To conclude, I stand here speaking for my generation, a generation of children, a generation of your children. It is imperative for Monroe County to be a leader in green policy to ensure a healthy earth for us and future generations. Thank you.
Dear legislators, my name is Kristen Housel. I'm a New York State certified speech-language pathologist, and I've been an independent provider in Monroe County since 2013. In that 7 years of time, the inflation rate has risen about 10.9%, In April of 2019, legislation was passed for a 5% increase in pay, but as of today, I still have not seen that increase. Even with this 5% pay increase, we are still 5.9% short of breaking even with the inflation rate. We haven't given up hope. As a reminder to you, there are no benefits included with being an independent provider. We carry our own professional insurance, health care, transportation, operation supplies, paid vacation, and retirement accounts. So why do we continue to do what we do? We work above and beyond for families and children because we truly have hope for children. You can ask any of the families here tonight who was on their child's early intervention treatment team, and I'll guarantee you they can name every therapist. In fact, I'll bet some have remained in close contact with these providers. We become family because we all have a common goal, and that's to help children become their best. In recent weeks, we've lost at least 22 service providers in early intervention community due to lack of funding. This time of year is usually a time of transition and a time for us to welcome more clients into our lives, as availability typically opens from those children that have moved on. Unfortunately, there are still at least 82 children awaiting services because there's simply not enough of us left to serve the most vulnerable members of this community. We ask that you please vote to add additional funding to the early intervention program, allowing for agencies and the county to hire additional proficient providers. Please show that you too see the possibilities for our children that was given to them from the support that early intervention provides. Please show that you too have hope for children. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rob Levine, and I'm here in support of the amazing students that make up the Rochester Youth Climate Leaders. They have been asking this body since last spring to take some action to mitigate climate change by merely setting up a climate action committee. I've heard lip service that this is being done, and yet over the last 7 months, I've seen nothing. And it's extremely disappointing, very disappointing. So I'm not a child. Sometimes I act like one. But I'd like you to consider that at this point, I'm a 15-year-old girl from Sweden, and I'm addressing the Conference of the Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate. This is a speech that was given almost a year ago. If a few children can get headlines all over the world just by not going to school, then imagine what we could all do together if we really, really wanted to. But to do that, we have to speak clearly, no matter how uncomfortable that may be. You only speak of a green, eternal economic growth because you're too scared of being unpopular. You only talk about moving forward with the same bad ideas that got us into this mess in the first place, even when the only sensible thing to do is pull the emergency brake. You are not mature enough to tell it like it is. Even that burden you leave to children. Our civilization is being sacrificed for the opportunity for a very small number of people to continue making enormous amounts of money. Our biosphere is being sacrificed so that rich people in countries like mine can live in luxury. It is the sufferings of the many which pay for the luxuries of the few. You say you love your children above all else, and yet you're stealing their future in front of their very eyes. Until you start focusing on what needs to be done, rather than what is possibly politically, there is no hope. We cannot solve a crisis without treating it as a crisis. And so I'm asking this body to consider that this is a crisis that you, by taking no action, are leaving to your children to clean up. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Barbara Lemke, Elizabeth Laidlaw, and Marla Parsons.
Yes, good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Barbara Lemke, and I am also an independent special education teacher working in early intervention. I previously worked for agencies and decided a couple years ago to become an independent provider. So this is a crisis. We've said it before. You've heard us many times. It's been almost a year since we started coming to these meetings and talking. Early intervention is a major crisis. It's not becoming a crisis. It is a crisis. As Kristen had said, there on the wait list that we received from the county just a couple weeks ago, there was over 80 children on the wait list. And you think, wow, this is down from a couple months ago. But there's not a wait list in September. Typically, that's when you get the opportunity to take on new students because children are transitioning to the preschool system. They're going to Mary Carroll, CP Rochester, RCN, and such, or getting services at home or daycare. They're moving on to a different system. But we still have many, many children on this wait list. And also, as was spoken also by Kristen, was there have been over 22 providers, with agencies and independent providers that have left this profession because they cannot afford to do it any longer. A speech provider that I used to work with left after 4 years and is the school district now making $13,000 more a year with benefits. I mean, you cannot blame this person for leaving if it's going to pay their bills, if it's going to pay their loans. So really, how can you blame the people from leaving? But we do it, and we love the children, and we know it. And it's interesting, as Kristen said also, we are part of the family. On the way here, I got a call from one of my parents because her child's now in preschool at an agency, and he's coming home, and he's acting up, and she's not sure what to do. And I'm her go-to person. So I'm not just somebody that comes in the home and provides services. We are part of the family, and we take on that, and that's a lot. It doesn't end when we leave their house. It's not like, oh, okay, I'll see you next time. Sorry, you can't call me. We are part of the family. Until you really experience that, I'm sure it's hard to understand that. So this is a major problem. Vital services are needed to these children. And again, as the rate has been discussed, the major problem is the rate for early intervention. It went up 5% supposedly for speech, OT, and physical therapy. We have not seen that yet. Not special ed, not the specialized teachers, not the classrooms. None of those saw any difference whatsoever. So we're talking about a rate that 23 years ago was $11 more an hour. 23 years ago in 1996. And that's really a sad, sad statistic. So what do we need to do? We need to get that rate up because these children are waiting, and they're also waiting for an evaluation to be completed because there's not enough providers to complete evaluations. So please let Albany know we need increase. Do anything you can to help us take care of our children who are our most precious population. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Elizabeth Laidlaw. I teach ethics, criminal justice ethics, business ethics, medical ethics at MCC, and I've done so for over 25 years. Good evening. I am grateful for your ongoing financial support and that you understand that MCC is a critical component of our region's employment landscape. I bring greetings from the Faculty Association. On campus, we are experiencing a much greater drop in enrollment than our competitors. Faculty members are being suspended without pay for minor infractions. It is a dark time. I wear black to work every day. Due to this and mismanagement of funds, as well as many other reasons I've brought before you, we overwhelmingly voted no confidence of President Kress and of MCC's Board of Trustees, whom you appointed. We are well aware that each of your legislative seats is up for election in November. I am here to tell you that we have mobilized our hundreds of members of our union to work for candidates in this room who have seriously considered our request that the legislature replace the 5 members of MCC's Board of Trustees. We are looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marla Parsons, and I'd like to speak with you about the Putnam County resolution to repeal certain provisions of the Reproductive Health Act that were voted on and passed several months ago. This resolution was sent to each of the county state legislative delegation and to Governor Cuomo. I have provided a copy to our Monroe County Legislature as well as copies to the public in the back of the room. They can see firsthand, the public as well as our legislature, what Putnam County has cited as the errors of the Reproductive Health Act. They are not opposed to the entire Reproductive Health Act, certain aspects of it. There are 5 main points which Putnam County has concerns over and seeks repeal of those portions of the Reproductive Health Act, in which we are also petitioning the Monroe County Legislature to do the same. Proponents of the reproductive rights once claimed to want to make abortion safe, legal, and rare. However, passage of the Reproductive Health Act makes them less safe and will make them much more common. The Reproductive Health Act is not about codifying Roe versus Wade, as claimed, but about expanding abortion in New York State past 24 weeks when a child is already clearly viable and capable of pain and suffering. The Reproductive Health Act opens the door broadly for abuse by allowing any health care practitioner, not just physicians, to perform an abortion. Dr. Cherkis spoke about this already tonight. It even goes down to the level of midwife. And as he already spoke, in that situation, if it was just a midwife who was not in a hospital, as the Reproductive Health Act does not require anymore, you know what would have happened to that young lady. She could have died. That was serious. New York formally allowed abortions after 24 weeks of pregnancy when necessary to save a woman's life. However, now the Reproductive Health Act permits late-term abortion at any time throughout the pregnancy up to the moment of birth when necessary to protect the patient's health. It's a term that is vague and undefined in the law. Literally, we could be talking, she's having a nervous breakdown, she broke a fingernail, whatever. If the provider feels that that's going along with the law, it would be allowed. The Reproductive Health Act removed abortion-related crimes from the penal law, including violent criminal acts that injure or kill preborn children, as well as violent criminal acts where pregnant women are assaulted, carrying, and then miscarry. We've already seen cases of this in New York State, and you'll see it in the Putnam County. They cite 2 sources, one in the Bronx and one in Queens, where the woman was stabbed by the baby's father. In one case, the woman died as well, but that child's death was not punishable by the law. And in the other case, it wasn't punishable at all because the woman did not die, only the baby died. So the babies are losing their rights with this Reproductive Health Act, and the man was not charged with the death of the baby. I want to be perfectly clear here of what our group here that you see representing in the back, and we've been here for 4 months, and we're going to keep coming. What we are looking for you members of the Monroe County Legislature to do, please, although I would love abortion to be illegal, period, as a Christian, it takes the life of a human being, an innocent human being. But what we are asking for is if you would please discuss and vote on a resolution like Putnam County's resolution, which you have here. You can copy it and just put in Monroe County, and our legislatures in the Assembly put in their names. We would like you to repeal these certain portions of the Reproductive Health Act. We're not looking for the whole thing to be repealed, but those certain portions that have changed. Give those babies back their rights if their lives are taken in the womb. Make sure that it's safe. Make sure it's in a hospital. Make sure it's with a physician. Make sure that it still stays below the 24-week. That's what we're looking for. As much as I'd like it all gone, that's only what we're asking for. This doesn't have to be political. We just want to go and keep it safe for the woman and at least go back to what we had before. Thank you very much for your time.
Our next 3 speakers are Thomas Moore, Liam Smith, and Robin Whittington.
letting me speak. I'm here as a father, grandfather, and a preschool teacher, and also in support of the Rochester Youth Climate Leaders. While the world's forests burn, ice caps and glaciers are melting, hurricanes, typhoons, and tornadoes are breaking records, sea levels and Lake Ontario waters continue to rise, Donald Trump refuses to use or be the responsible leader of the richest and most powerful nation on earth, and allow the peer-reviewed science to inform him and his people that we must do something now. Donald continues to say it is all a big hoax. It isn't hard to imagine what will happen if we continue as we are, if we refuse to wake up from this dream as if none of these terrible things were happening the world over. Though we are spared much of the climate-related drama here in our region, it is really just a matter of time. Maybe we'll experience devastation in the form of a mega snowstorm, overwhelming floodwaters from the Genesee River, or an unimaginably strong wind whose gusts flatten our homes and businesses. I know that taxes and big government are not favorite tools of the Republican Party, but sooner or later you will need to come to terms with this global crisis as it affects us in Monroe County. Sooner or later you'll need to behave as leaders and come up with a plan to reduce Monroe County's carbon footprint, as well as a plan to deal with the challenges that climate change will bring. Sooner or later, your children, your grandchildren will look up into your eyes and ask, what did you do when you knew? Will you say the problem was too big and too expensive, and our constituents wouldn't want to pay extra for your future? Please, for the sake of generations to come, be responsible leaders of Monroe County and do what needs to be done now and make a plan for this region so that we can be a part of the solution and be ready for the inevitable. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Liam Smith and I'm a senior at Brighton High School. I've been here a few times before, so you may recognize me. I'm one of the organizers of the Rochester Youth Climate Leaders, and we've been encouraging Monroe County to create a climate action plan and a climate advisory board to advise the legislature on how we could create a climate action plan. As you may recall, we have also been asking people in the area to sign on to a petition in support of our county asks. The petition urges the county legislature to create a comprehensive climate action plan to achieve carbon neutrality within the county by 2050 at the latest. We delivered 1,300 signatures in May and have gotten about 1,200 signatures since then. That adds up to a total of over 2,500 signatures in support of our ask. I wanted to leave you with the on-paper signatures today, and we also have an online petition, so I have a few hundred signatures on that, and I'll email them later today to save paper. Are you the right person? Thanks. I also wanted to point out that climate policy in general has widespread support on both sides of the aisle, especially in young voters. A statistic I read recently stated that 78% of millennial GOP voters support the government taking action to accelerate the transition to a clean energy economy. A significant number, 49%, of millennial GOP voters also said that inaction on climate change will be harmful to the future of the Republican Party. I hope that that statistic is convincing and shows you that we really do need to do something about climate change, especially if you want to keep your offices. We at RYCL have reached out to every single Republican legislature and Executive DeNalfo requesting to meet individually with legislators about climate policy. To our dismay, only one Republican legislator has met with us thus far. The others have either ignored our messages or sent back a surprisingly similar message about how they're getting all their information they need from Steve Brew, the legislator who we did meet with. Meanwhile, Mr. Brew, who we met with in mid-July, has yet to get back to us with any concrete information regarding information we left him, in spite of a few follow-up emails. To all legislators, I say it's time to stop stalling. As the party in majority and the party with power to actually get this done, it's rather embarrassing that you have yet to do anything or make any statement about climate change, about how the legislature will do something about it. It's time that all Republican legislators stand up for the future of their children, community, and party by addressing the issue of climate change. Waiting for other legislators to take action is inadequate in the face of the climatic time bomb known as global warming. Our house is on fire. It's time we act like it.
Hi, everybody. Well, if you can't tell by the shirt, I'm here to speak against the Reproductive Health Care Act. So I got to talk to you. In the beginning, I honestly thought it had a lot to do with women's health, but does it really? I'd like to share a quote from Dr. Anthony Levatino. He said, "In my experience, over almost a decade, I never had to deliberately kill a single child to save a woman's life." That really got me thinking. If it really isn't to save a woman's life, then what's it about? It should be a moral, ethical issue, but it seems like it's more about politics and greed. You remember the old quote, "Follow the money," that memorable quote from All the President's Men, when Deep Throat advised Bob Woodward that the key to understanding the Watergate mystery was the money? Well, if you follow the money trail of the financial contributors with Planned Parenthood and all the supporters of late-term abortions, guess what? That still holds true. I'd like to direct your attention to, well, you don't have the handout, but I'll hold it up. Take a look at this, because you'll see on the one side the campaign contributions from Planned Parenthood, and tracking that money down is a bit of a nightmare. But I quickly learned that you have individual campaign donations, but since there's a cap, money gets funneled through PACs, and of course there's pop-up LLCs, other subsidiaries and means, and the handout covers just a sampling of the 2018 election cycle for federal, and of course that includes what's actually reported. I tried obtaining some of that information at the local level and haven't been very successful. What's interesting to note is that Planned Parenthood spent just a little over $5.6 million to support Democratic candidates, while spending another $2.7 million to fight against Republican candidates in the 2017-2018 cycle. They targeted people like John Faso, spending a little under $500,000, and it seemed to work. He lost. Conversely, they supported Max Rose, and he won. But this is only part of the story. On the back half of the handout, you'll see abortion is big business. It's an $85 billion industry. Let that sink in for a second, because that blew my mind. Did you know aborted fetal parts are used for experiments, aborted fetal cell lines are used, and fetal cellular DNA debris are in vaccines and medicines? Baby body parts are sold to laboratories and commercial concerns throughout the world. The raw material for this industry comes from abortion clinics like Planned Parenthood. Most people don't realize there's several products that use aborted fetuses either in the product itself or in its development. What's worse, the vague wording on the FDA labeling makes it impossible to understand unless you're proficient in reading patents and pharmaceutical inserts. Commercially, it's known as processed skin proteins, PSPs, and it's used in anti-aging skin products. 21 vaccines and medical products contain aborted fetal cell lines. There's even a project to make humanized mice for ongoing AIDS research, which requires the fetal tissue of late-term abortions. It's all there, just the tip of the iceberg. Please note that every bit of this has been cited with the sources. And I ask you, when you're looking at the Reproductive Health Care Act, what's your motivation? Think about that. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Danielle Salamone, Ellen Mancuso, and Emily Pavone.
My name is Danielle Salamone. This is my daughter, Evie.
Evie has Down syndrome. There's a video I saw recently making the rounds on social media. It starts out with a middle-aged man wearing a stethoscope and a white coat staring at the camera. He says, Down syndrome? Well, there'll be a lot of limitations. The video then goes back and forth between the doctor and adults with Down syndrome, opposing everything he says. There will be limitations, says the doctor. A woman with Down syndrome holding her diploma in her cap and gown says, Are you sure about that? Back to the doctor. They tend to do well with only the simplest of tasks. The camera then cuts to an adult man with Down syndrome wearing a suit, stating, I am a lobbyist on Capitol Hill. The doctor says, their cognitive ceiling limits their ability to work. Cut to a woman with Down syndrome saying, I own my own business. This goes on for a while, the doctor stating the norm for people with Down syndrome, and then actual people with Down syndrome defying his predictions. This video takes stereotypes of people with Down syndrome and throws them out the window. One reason why people with Down syndrome are more successful now could be that being institutionalized is no longer done. These people are kept in their homes with their family. They are exposed to services through early intervention like speech, PT, OT, teachers of the deaf and visually impaired at a young age. These families and these individuals are able to thrive. Early intervention is helping these people and these families succeed. I am here tonight to tell you that Evie is walking, talking, signing, listening to directions, and able to play with peers because of the services we have received through early intervention. Evie is going to survive. She is going to thrive because of these therapists that helped her to succeed. She will most likely need less therapy in the future because we have been working with her since she was 6 weeks old. Early intervention has been an irreplaceable asset. We are calling on you tonight to help us increase rates for early intervention and preschool special education providers. Help us.
Hi, and that little one is one of the reasons why I still do my job. I was one of Evie's teachers. I'm Emily Pavone, and I'm a special education early intervention teacher with Monroe County, excuse me, and I have been here before to speak as well. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the show Designated Survivor, going around on Netflix now. Well, that's what I feel like, a designated survivor. I've been an early intervention teacher for 20 years and have not received a raise in over 15, along with 2 pay cuts in 1 year. I don't know anyone else who has done that or anyone else who knows what that's like. Recently, speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, as you've heard already, received an embarrassing 5% raise, but not us teachers or teachers of the deaf or teachers of the visually impaired. When I asked why, after many mumbled responses of, I don't know why you didn't get the 5% raise, I was told that the waiting list for children needing special ed was not nearly as great. Well, I can tell you that I don't know what list people were looking at. I am still accepting clients who have been waiting for over 6 months. That is unacceptable. No child, no family, no baby should have to wait for services. I am frequently asked as a special education teacher to take kids who need speech and OT because I am, quote, one of the most experienced special ed teachers and can temporarily fill the void of the other therapies. That's great. I have been able to work with many, many wonderful therapists and have learned from them. Great therapists, as you've heard and you will continue to hear, are leaving EI and preschool in droves to go to school districts. And who can blame them? They are getting more money. They're getting better benefits. They get paid planning time and lunch and vacation time. I have a wonderful friend, a very esteemed colleague, who I called today as an OT to ask if she had any availability. Her answer to me was, can't do it, I'm waiting for the preschool kids because that's where the money is. I almost cried when I heard her say that. As an independent provider, I don't get paid for lunch or planning or vacation or sick time. I pay for all of my own supplies, overhead, and toys and clothes for families who have no money. We are now being asked to provide what I consider to be quantity over quality therapy. More children, service more children to help decrease the capacity wait list. Do shorter sessions so we can take on more kids. Absolutely unacceptable. When asked why I still do this for the same pay for over 15 years, my answer is simple. is what teachers do, and I love what I do. EI is proven to be effective and necessary, serving the youngest and most vulnerable population. We are teachers to both children and their families, as you've also heard. Please consider our pay increase so this program does not implode as it is on its way. And as I ended my speech once before, I certainly hope that there's nobody sitting over there who has any family member, friends, neighbors, grandsons, children, anyone who is in need of special ed, teacher services, or any other early intervention services that has to wait. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ellen Mancuso. I'm a retiree from Monroe Community College. And I'm here to read a letter on behalf of Donna Burke. She's a faculty member in the Counseling and Disability Office. She has been at MCC for almost 24 years. She read a letter in full to the Monroe County, or to the MCC Board of Trustees in December. I have never seen such chaos and dysfunction in all my years here at MCC. Frequent attempts at reorganization have been a disabling effect. We are running in all different directions, grasping at the latest models and shiny initiatives to fix us, but we have ignored the basics of what makes an institution strong: its people and its relationships. There have been so many reorgs in the past 6 months to 1 year that much of the signage in Building 3 is wrong. But some of it actually became correct again because offices were moved back to where they were a few years ago. While this is an example may be laughable, there is really nothing very funny about it. I have never felt so unsure and unsafe at MCC as I did this past fall semester. I work in an office that addresses very serious student issues. We have been advocating that we are short-staffed with no avail. So while we are spending thousands of dollars on consulting firms and chasing the latest models, those of us who are trying to do more with less in critical student service areas on campus are struggling. She goes on to talk about the short staffing that she has in her department. To say that we are in crisis is an understatement. In addition, due to the good expense management, our professional staff acts as a receptionist in the office because administrative assistant lines have not been filled. Given the demands of services in my office, we used to have 3 administrative assistants, and now we have 1. So subsequently, we have certified mental health counselors often managing the front desk of our office and not seeing the students who really need critical health care. She goes on to say that I have watched our college climate and culture change from a caring and committed community to feelings of fear and disconnection. The majority of my colleagues who are committed to the mission of our institution feel disconnected and not cared for or about. That is the problem at MCC. Please dig deeper. Please ask critical questions about the serious issues that are facing our institution today. We are but a shell of what we used to be, but I have hope that we can once again be a strong, vibrant, caring community. What prompted me to read Donna's letter tonight is this week when I've been on campus, I've had 3 separate faculty members tell me they felt unsure and unsafe at the campus. We all know that mental health are critical issues in our society. I hope you are not ignoring something that turns into a disaster for all of us. Thank you.
Our next 3 speakers are Kim Dewar, Nicholas Handy, and Frank Reagan.
Hello, my name is Kim Dewar. I'm a special needs mom and early intervention advocate. My daughter Vivian has been receiving occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, special education, and teacher of the visually impaired since she's been 5 months old. She's now transitioned to the preschool special ed system. I'm here introducing myself for the first time as co-founder of Parents Helping Parents, Coalition of Monroe County. Our coalition formed in the spring, myself, Brittany Jensick, and Danielle Salamone, and our coalition has been growing in numbers and strength ever since. Our mission is to serve and protect families of kids with special needs in Monroe County as they try to navigate this early intervention system that is in a state of crisis, especially those families who have waited or are currently waiting for services that they are legally obligated to. Here is our pamphlet, our most recent pamphlet that we have been and will continue to get in the hands of as many parents as humanly possible. We have joined forces with pediatricians across Monroe County and pediatric medical associations, and they will be distributing our pamphlets to their patients. We are marching in the suffragist parade this weekend, and we will be handing the pamphlets out to parents in City of Rochester proper, which is a target population for this crisis. You can find us on Facebook, Parents Helping Parents, Coalition of Monroe County, Public Forum. You can email us, parentshelpingparentsmonroe@gmail.com. At the beginning of the summer, we, as Monroe County, was in a state of crisis when it came to early intervention and preschool special education programs because of provider shortages due to lack of funding. Well, guess what? 22 more providers have left just over the summer, and more than 82 children are currently on a wait list, which has never, ever been heard of. There has never been a wait list of over 82 children in September, with over 22 providers that have left over the summer. This isn't a crisis anymore. This is a state of emergency. And please don't ever say that you did not hear this and you were not warned. This program is imploding. We need help. We need emergency funding. We need more service coordinators. There has to be something Monroe County can do. I'm not going to hear you guys blaming the state, throwing your hands up, saying there's nothing else we can do. There has to be something you can do. There has to be emergency funding, or maybe stop some county projects or renovations that are happening and put some money into this federally mandated program. And probably maybe think about stop breaking the law, okay? Before school started, remember, over 22 providers have left just over the summer and over 82 kids are waiting. This is an emergency. There has to be something you can do. Kids can't wait.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicholas Hamby, and I'm here with the Rochester Youth Climate Leaders. I'm 17 years old, and I attend Webster Thomas High School in Webster, New York. I'm speaking for my generation, as well as for future generations of Monroe County. The International Panel on Climate Change, run by the UN, predicts that the Earth will warm by 8 degrees, or 14.4 degrees Fahrenheit, by 2100. A warmer planet amplifies the frequency and the power of extreme weather. It destroys harvests and is responsible for the extreme rise in sea levels. These changes create billions of dollars worth of damage while drastically increasing the number of people who are hungry and displacing countless families from their homes. 97% of scientists concur that humans are causing these problems. Humans also have the ability to stop this, and we can start here in Monroe County through carbon neutrality. We believe a crucial first step is creating a Climate Action Plan Advisory Board for the county to research and implement green change, as well as advise the county on climate policy. As a resident of Webster, I am aware that my friends, family, and fellow community members support green policy from both sides of the aisle, as we realize a warmer Earth negatively affects all of us. It is imperative for Monroe County to become a leader in green policy to ensure that there will still be an Earth for our future generations to call home. Thank you.
Members of the Monroe County Legislature, I'm Frank Reagan, chairperson of the Rochester Sierra Club's Climate Change Committee. The Rochester Sierra Club supports the Rochester Youth Climate Leaders in the advocating for Climate Action Plan Monroe County. The climate crisis threatens the lives of millions of people. The Sierra Club nationally and locally advocates for a transition of 100% clean, renewable energy in all sectors with a just transition that builds jobs and serves the community most harmed by fossil fuel pollution, communities of color and low income. The efforts of our youth, locally and around the world, to get our leaders' attentions on this crisis highlights the real concern that humanity might not be able to address this crisis on a scale and time frame that will matter to our children. Because of Monroe County's pivotal role in maintaining many of our region's parks, public health, and infrastructure, it means that Monroe County Legislature is accountable for making sure these critical components of our existence in this region can adapt to a quickly warming climate. In May of 2017, Rochester passed a climate action plan, and while Monroe County heralds its own sustainability team, whose mission is to, among others, to weave economic, environmental, and social responsibility into Monroe government, this sustainability team does not presently do so under the lens of climate change. This distinction is important because if climate change is not the priority by which it orchestrates our sustainability plans, then the sustainability team's plans are for a world that no longer exists. We ask that this governing body embrace the science behind climate change, heed the local and worldwide demonstrations occurring between the 20th and the 27th of this month by our youth, and recognize this governing body's important role in addressing climate change at the local level.
Our next three speakers are Dolores Phelps, Kristen Rogers, and Elizabeth McGregor.
Hi, my name is Dolores Phelps. I'm kind of nervous. It's my first time. I'm speaking on behalf of me being a single mother to a child who has a disability and a student of Greece Central School District. This past fall, November, not this year, but last fall, my daughter was forced into an 8-to-1 class by a director of people personnel with the help of a board member of the Greece Central. My child was already in a 12-to-1 class with good teachers who were helping her, but my daughter was being bullied. She got punched in the chest, and with them not doing anything to the other student, this led them to place her in an 8-to-1 class with all boys and all her mainstream classes with all boys. I tried to stop it, but they ignored me, and the reason why I didn't want it is because my child has a history of past trauma of sex abuse. There is a cry, not just for me, but other mothers, even teachers who really want to help our children with disabilities. But because the director, people personnel, and other board members in the Greece Central School District, they can overpower us with our children's IEPs. And as of right now, my daughter is supposed to be going into 8th grade. My daughter is not in school right now. I'm fighting for her to be able to be placed back into school with the right setting. Another thing is home health care management. They try to help us, but we get bullied with CPS workers. I'm right now dealing with a CPS worker, not realizing that it's hard because I'm being ignored. I'm being told if she doesn't go here, this is the only option. My rights are getting violated. She should be able to have a school of choice, especially if she's getting bullied, and not just me, but other families. There is a cry for children of disabilities in the Greece Central School District, low-income housing, people who are on either SSI, like social service, or Section 8, whatever housing. Our children really need help. We have parents who not just reached out, but they're being ignored. So please help us, and thanks again for listening.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Rogers. I'm an advocacy coordinator at the Children's Agenda. I'd like to once again thank all of you for the 15% increase the county provided to related services for preschool special education. I'm hoping that that increase will serve as the catalyst for annual increases to these fundamental services that are utterly important to our children. I'm also here to ask the county legislative body to continue to actively support us in our efforts to raise rates at the state level for early intervention as well. As you have heard from other advocates this evening, just this past summer, we have had a significant number of providers remove themselves from the early intervention field to pursue higher wages in other arenas. And while the state is responsible for early intervention rates, their lack of not adequately raising rates highly affects the children here in the county that you all serve. Numerous children here in Monroe County get approved for developmental services, and then their families are told that their services are unavailable to them until further notice, simply because the demand for developmental services far outweighs the supply of providers who can deliver the services. Thus, we ask each of you to reach out to your state connections and help us make this issue a high priority at the state level this upcoming budget year. As the saying goes, there is strength in numbers. We invite you to be a part of our strength.
Good evening. My name is Liz McGregor. I'm an independent speech-language pathologist providing early intervention and preschool services to the most vulnerable little people in our community. You've heard from me before, you've heard from my colleagues tonight, and you've heard from those parents directly affected. So in summary, I'd like to state the facts. Fact number one, no one has seen the 5% pay raise that was approved by the state 5 months ago. Fact number two, that 5% pay raise isn't enough to attract or retain providers, as the new rates are not commensurate with the rates of our colleagues in other settings. Fact number three, well over 20 providers left the early intervention program here in Monroe County this summer alone for better paying jobs with better benefits, or actually with benefits. That's something we don't have. Fact number four, as of August 29th, there are 81 children on the wait list. Fact number five, those 81 little people qualify for services right here in Monroe County, but there are not enough providers to provide the services. Fact number six, if the children on the wait list do not get the services they are entitled to now, their education will end up costing taxpayers significantly more money down the road. Fact number seven, our county service coordinators who approve and oversee the early intervention program and the services that are provided are overwhelmed and overworked. Fact number eight, the early intervention program as we know it is in a state of crisis. Fact number nine, we need our local elected officials, regardless of what side of the aisle you are sitting on, to impact change locally and at the state level. Thank you for your time.
Our next three speakers are Urdesh Singh, Tina Carney, and Bridget Hurley.
Hello all. My name is Urdesh Singh, and I'm a current senior at Brighton High School. My peers and I, from the Rochester Youth Climate Leaders, have consistently appeared at Monroe County Legislature meetings for the past 5 months, requesting that this body take firm and substantial action on climate change. Specifically, our group has been asking for the legislature to pass a climate action plan for Monroe County. This plan would include detailed steps and processes for the county as a whole, from both the private sector and the public sector, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. This seemingly distant year has been cited by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC, as a point by which the entire global community must achieve carbon neutrality. Climate scientists have predicted that if we do not reach this 2050 benchmark, the world as a whole will experience drastic climate disasters ranging from famines, intense flooding, and severe droughts. However, there is hope and a unique opportunity for Monroe County to take here and now through the passage of a detailed climate action plan. The important aspect in this plan is not just the greenhouse gas emission reductions, but the formation of a climate action plan advisory board. This entity would consist of a wide variety of experts from climate science, public health, the business community, and the public sector, who would convene and draft the plan. We as high schoolers may have the passion and rigor, but woefully lack the expertise to draft any sort of policy, let alone climate policy, with only a Regents Living Environment class under our belts. The formation of such a body would cost the county absolutely nothing and provide invaluable information on how to improve our county, making this action a win-win for us all. Here in Monroe County, we have a special opportunity to become a true leader on climate action in Western New York. We now await your leadership to guide us toward a better future for my generation and the multitude of generations to come. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tina Carney. I just ran in. I've got a handout that's passing around now, so when you get it, take a look. This is my family. It's coming around to everyone. It's actually last year's holiday card, but it applies to my story. The mighty one in the middle here, this is Meredith. She was 2 in this picture. At her well visit when she was 2, I expressed concern about her expressive language to her pediatrician. Her response was, it's best to go through the insurance because there's a long wait list for early intervention. I called early intervention in early January of 2019. The evaluation happened in March of 2019. She qualified for speech services in March. She waited 3 more months for services. 6 months, January to June, a process for a program that serves children 0 to 3 years old is a problem, and it's unacceptable. Today, while she was putting on her shoes, I noticed the left was on the wrong foot, so I bent down to fix it, and she hit me. She hit me because she doesn't have the words to say, "Back off, Mom, I got this." She shoves kids on the playground when they get too close because she doesn't have the words to say, "Would you please give me some space?" I don't want to get hit. I don't want her to hit. I don't want to fight. We are on the same team. I want a conversation. I want all stakeholders, parents, providers, care coordinators, elected leadership to get together and collaboratively problem solve early intervention in Monroe County. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. I'm here to talk about kids on the other end of the spectrum. As you know, we're approaching the 1st anniversary of the implementation of New York State's Raise the Age law. Just about a year ago, New York State joined 49 other states in implementing this legislation that mandated that 16 and 17-year-olds in New York State be treated as juveniles instead of being treated as adults, as they had been. And just this morning, a report was released by the New York State Raise the Age Implementation Task Force. And I just want to tell you a little bit about that report. It was released both to summarize the past year of Raise the Age and also in anticipation of the fact that at the end of this month, 17-year-olds are now going to be folded into the Raise the Age law. So they will now be treated as juveniles as well as the 16-year-olds. So the 2 major conclusions from the report that was released this morning from the Implementation Task Force were that the law is meeting its objectives. It's fulfilling its purpose. The number of 16-year-olds who are being arrested is on the decline, which honestly it has been for quite a few years, but the rate of the decline is accelerating. And the second is that at the state and local levels, government and community-based organizations have been working hard, planning, collaborating, working through the kinks, the many, many kinks of the law. And as a result, the law is being, the transition to raise the age has been smooth and effective. Now, if you've talked with anyone who's been involved with Raise the Age locally, they'll tell you those are pretty broad statements that are actually covering up some many, many, many challenges, and I know that that's been true. But I want to tell you, I've been in the courtroom, I've watched Raise the Age in action. I've watched 16-year-olds who are children and who a year ago could have been sent to state prison, who are now receiving services, support. They're receiving some pretty firm but encouraging instruction from Judge Romeo. And that's a good thing, and that's going to be a good thing for our entire state and for our community moving forward. I also just want to take the chance to thank everyone in the county and all the community-based organizations who have been working hard to make Raise the Age work, and I ask that we stay the course for this second year of implementation. And finally, on a different tack, I just want to make sure that all of the candidates in the room, the county legislature candidates, know that you are invited to a children's forum on the county leg seat elections on October 16th. You'll receive more information, but I wanted to make sure you knew you're all invited. Thank you.
I will now recall Gail Doran. This concludes the public forum.
We will now proceed with the consideration of local laws. Will the clerk please read the first item on the agenda?
Item number 1, referral 19-0197.LL.
Moved by Legislator Bruce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. You can read it again, Jay.
All right. We have item number 1, referral 19-0197.LL, moved by Legislator Bruce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty.
This is a motion to lift from the table. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Item number 2, referral 19-0197.LL.
Second. Moved by Legislator Bruce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty, Legislator Cayley, Legislator Lightfoot, Legislator Lamar. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Marionetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just rise to briefly explain my vote, and voice my support for this local law. I'd also just like to recognize and thank Bryce's mom, Tanisha, for being here tonight. And on behalf of my colleagues, I want to extend our deepest sympathy to you and your family. The loss of Bryce was felt throughout our community, and I know we all hope that this law, Bryce's law, will prevent another tragedy. I want to thank the county executive for taking the lead on this local law, and I will be voting in favor of it tonight. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Legislator Marionetti. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Item number 3, referral 19-0202.
Moved by Legislator Zale, seconded by Legislator Taylor. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Item number 4, referral 19-0206.
Moved by Legislator DeFlorio, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 5, referral 19-0207.
Moved by Legislator Boyce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is also to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 6, referral 19-0208.
Moved by legislator Boyce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 7, referral 19-0209.
Moved by legislator Boyce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 8, referral 19-0210.
Moved by legislator Hebert, seconded by legislator Boyce. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 9, referral 19-0211.
Moved by legislator Boyce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 10, referral 19-0212.
Moved by legislator Boyce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 11, referral 19-0213.
Moved by legislator Bruce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Item number 12, referral 19-0214.
Moved by legislator Zales, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 13, referral 19-0215.
Moved by legislator Bruce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 14, referral 19-0216.
Moved by legislator Zales, seconded by legislator Delahanty and legislator Brew. This is to adopt. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 15, referral 19-0217.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Item number 16, referral 19-0218.
Moved by legislator Terp, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 17, referral 19-0218.BR.
Moved by legislator Terp, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 18, referral 19-0219.
Moved by legislator Boyce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. And is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 19, referral 19-0220.
Moved by legislator Boyce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 20, referral 19-0221.
Moved by legislator Terp, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Before we get to discussion, I'd like to acknowledge the request from committees has been addressed in this resolution. I'd like to thank the Law Department for your work to correct this typographical error from September 31st to September 30th. Now, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 21, referral 19-0222.
Moved by legislator Hebert, seconded by legislators Terp and Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 22, referral 19-0223.
Moved by legislator Hebert, seconded by legislator Terp. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 23, referral 19-0224.
Moved by legislator Boyce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 24, referral 19-0225.
Moved by legislator Bruce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 25, referral 19-0226.
Moved by legislator Zale, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next, is there any? There is no unfinished business. Legislator Marionetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. We stand adjourned until 6 p.m. Tuesday, October 8th, 2019.